Good day and welcome to our podcast. My name is Aakash Patel, president and founder of Elevate Inc. Elevate Inc. is a strategic business consulting firm founded in 2012 with the premise of helping companies learn, connect, and grow in and around the Tampa Bay community. Our podcast features clients and guests, community leaders throughout the Bay Area that are helping our city ensure Tampa has swagger. If you have interest in or feedback for us, please send us an email, info@elevate-inc.com. And as always, we want to feature one of our clients before we start our podcast. Today, we want to talk about Hakeem Investments. Hakeem Investments is a returning client. They are a Tampa Bay investment company facilitating commercial and residential needs in our area. Hakeem Investments was founded in 1967 by the late cardiac thoracic surgeon, Dr. M.K. Hakeem. He was the chief of a hospital for 30 years at South Florida Baptist Hospital. The work that Hakeem Investments does for the business community is so important because great businesses need great places to operate. Thanks again for watching, and take a look at our new podcast featuring Chris Chambers of Tampa Electric right now. Good day. My name is Aakash Patel, president and founder of Elevate Inc., and you're watching our podcast, Elevating Today. Today is season 1, episode 16, and I'm here with my friend Chris Chambers. Chris, thanks for coming on this morning.
Aakash, thank you for having me.
Now, Chris, you and I have known each other for years, but for the folks at home that haven't had a chance to meet you, talk about where you grew up, your background, and what you do today.
So, Aakash, I'm originally from Hattiesburg, Mississippi, and the way I came to Florida, after leaving high school, I joined the U.S. Coast Guard, traveled around the world, stationed in a few different places, but eventually came to the Tampa Bay area in 2004. Was here for about 4 years, and the Coast Guard sent me to some other places for a while. I got back for good in 2013 when I began my career with Tampa Electric Company as a security specialist. Now my current role, I'm the security and emergency management manager, where for our energy supply, which is our power gen side of the house, I kind of oversee all the security operations and emergency management operations as well.
Now, a lot of people out there are thinking about the Coast Guard. Why Coast Guard and not other service? And first of all, thank you for your service.
No, appreciate it. So, when I was looking at the different service options, I think the Coast Guard provided the most opportunities. Is a service that I felt I could relate to more. A seagoing service. I always like being, near the water, in the water, or boating. So it was a good fit. Ended up being one of the best decisions I ever made in my life. It opened up a lot of opportunities. I don't think I'd be where I am today if it wasn't for my service and that foundation, starting with the Coast Guard, where I continue to serve today in the reserves. And
you were also a police officer, correct?
Yes.
So how does that fit in, or when did that happen?
So that's when I came off active duty. I was a police officer for a couple of years, and then was ended up recalled back to the Coast Guard on active duty. So instead of returning to a career in law enforcement, I had a position to take with Tampa Electric in their security department, and it just worked out. It was a good transition and opportunity. So all that background, that experience from the military and law enforcement, I think kind of builds up on that foundation, what helps me on my day-to-day duties.
So Tampa Electric is this big corporation, as you know, and most of us pay our bills on time, and we see the bills and we know that the energy, and when we hear about TECO during the hurricanes and the power outages
Correct.
And things like that, what does your day-to-day look like?
So in security operations and emergency management, no day is ever the same. Whether you're dealing with a threat, whether it be from a customer, internal threat, cybercrime, whatever, you have to respond to that. So you're always preparing for those events. And the same thing with emergency management. We just came out of one of our most active hurricane seasons that we've ever seen. So while you're in that hurricane season from June 1st to December 1st, you're exercising all your plans and everything that you've put into place. But as soon as hurricane season over, you're going back, you're reviewing your plans, you're trying to see what worked, what didn't work, any type of after-action reports, and you're just improving on that. So you're doing that year-round, basically. So it's more of a preparation, but you're also responding to any type of natural disasters, any threats, what have you.
Now, Tampa Electric is very active in the community, and they inspire and allow their young professionals like yourself to get involved. You've been involved in several organizations within law enforcement, within the port community, the maritime community,
Correct.
And even within the Chamber of Commerce. Talk about your leadership in this community.
So within the maritime community, that's near and dear to my heart, just from my Coast Guard background. So I sit on the Tampa Bay Harbor Safety and Security Committee. It's just a committee with various stakeholders throughout the port and the maritime community. Anytime we have a situation or event, we all come together collectively and make a recommendation to the stakeholders or that decision maker. Same thing for the Area Maritime Security Committee, which is overseen by the U.S. Coast Guard. We look at different threats coming to the Tampa Bay area, any type of big events, Super Bowl, how to mitigate that. And then we also run exercises and drills for your maritime and your port partners, because that's a requirement for those facilities that's regulated through the Coast Guard. So just a couple too. For the chamber, this year I chaired the Military Advisory Committee. And that's just a natural for me, just being in the Coast Guard. And that's a good thing. We give back to the military community and their family, advocate for them, whether it be career opportunities, workforce development, just trying to figure out what type of issues they have, whether it's mental health care or better health for the veterans and their families. So it's a broad spectrum of what we do, but we're just there to support the veteran and their families.
And you mentioned you are currently in the reserves.
Yes.
You're also a husband and a father. And your job takes you to all different community activities. What is your secret to work-life balance?
Well, so first of all, I have a very understanding wife. So, and she understands that I'm very ambitious. So it's just all a balance. A lot of times throughout the week, I'm attending different events, but the weekend is primarily for the family. And my wife, she has a very hectic but regimented schedule as well. She's very into fitness and likes to work out. So the weekend, that's when we can come together as a family and do those things, those family activities, and it kind of slows down for us. So like I said, balance is a key, but we find a way to make it work.
So March 13th, we had this thing called COVID-19 hit us. Where were you, and how did that impact your daily life?
So, March 13th, I was here. And, you was hearing about this COVID-19 for a couple weeks leading up to that, but it definitely had an impact on my life from a professional and a personal perspective. Me and the family had to change the way our way of life, how we do things. We like to go out, we're social, we like foodies, like I describe us, but we had to scale back on all of that. Start donning the mask, the new PPE. So it was a life change for us. It was very tough on my daughter at first. She's very active. She's a golfer, so a lot of her activities had been placed on hold and then transitioning to the e-learning. So that was tough on her. She definitely likes to get out with that A-type personality. Not sure who she gets it from, but so that's that from a personal perspective. From a professional standpoint, my job at Tampa Electric, we had to implement a lot of plans in place to protect our employees and customers as well. So we changed our operations significantly. We identified the people who could work from home, and they were allowed to work from home just for the safety, but our company exercised a lot of flexibility as well. So, there's major changes that we had to adapt and adjust to, but I think we did a good job overall.
Now, you've seen a lot of things happen with corporations in the pandemic, and you've seen a lot of people become entrepreneurs. I know you have an entrepreneurial spirit, and you've got a different experience than most because you served two different public sectors in law enforcement and in the maritime industry. What advice do you give to people that come to you? Because you are a leader in the community. You've won the Emerging Leader of the Year award, recently with the Tampa Bay Chamber, and I know what it's like because I was a recipient a couple years before you, and so some people must ask you all the time, Chris Chambers, how can you help me guide them whether it's starting a business or becoming an entrepreneur or even giving back? What advice do you have to those individuals right now that are going through so much?
So I think from an entrepreneurial standpoint, a lot of people are afraid to fail. And I think that's what holds them back from doing that. But you can't be afraid to fail, and it's one thing you need to fail fast. Figure out where your mistakes are and apply that and then self-correct yourself. I think with COVID, a lot of people lost their jobs, so I think it opened up a lot of opportunities for new entrepreneurs. So they need to find something they're passionate about, their niche or craft, and figure out what makes it different that sets them apart from other businesses or companies, and just step out there. Definitely network, learn from other entrepreneurs. I have a consulting business, and I've had some great mentors. Andy Wilson, just to name one of them, whether it be Doug Pace. So those are a couple people who I've talked to in the past and learned, you know, not only from their successes, but also hear about their mistakes and how you can avoid those roadblocks.
Yeah, and one of the op-eds I read for the Business Journal, we talk about, you know, Steve Jobs was fired from the job he created.
Correct.
From the company he created. You know, so you've got to fail. So everyone fails, not even just people that are wealthy. So, you know, reading is important as well. I know a lot of people during the pandemic took time because there was no events to go to. They were reading books. Mm-hmm. Is there a book that's transformed the way you think, the way your purpose, the way you guide through your
yeah, there's it's called Extreme Ownership, mm-hmm. And it's written by a former Navy SEAL, and he just takes his experiences from the battlefield and translate those to the business, the corporate boardrooms or what have you. So I think it's, and I believe his name is Jocko Wilson. I might have screwed that up, but it's a very inspirational book, and it's just taking you how to take ownership of your life, your actions, and everything you do. You know, a lot of times, you know, it's easy to you know, push the blame on somebody else. But if you look at it and say, hey, you know what, I could have did that different instead of pushing that blame, I think you'll have a better outcome. And you know, me being a leader, whether it's at Tampa Electric or in the military, if you're just taking that ownership, I think that makes your situation and your overall outcome and objective more attainable and have a successful result.
Now, today is 2020, but we're just going to pretend 2020 didn't exist. So let's say today's 2021 because we're almost here anyway. Yeah. Where is Chris Chambers in 2021? Or sorry, 5 years from now. 5 years from 2021, so let's say 2026. Okay. Where is Chris Chambers and what is he doing?
I don't know. I used to be, you know, hesitant and almost embarrassed or ashamed to say, you know, I don't know. People say, what are your future plans? And I would always felt I would need to come back, okay, I want to do this, that, and that. But if life has taught me, you know, nobody knows what's destined for you. You know, there's some ambitions and goals, but, you know, I'm very, you know, fluid, dynamic person. You know, things shift. I can go a different way. From a professional standpoint, you know, I'm working at Tampa Electric. I still hope to be there. That's one company. There's a lot of opportunities for development, whether it's just one of those companies you can do anything you want to do. You know, I'm in security and emergency management right now, but there are other different fields that interest me. So who knows where I'd be, depending on, you know, if there's a good fit. You know, if my leadership feels, hey, you'll be good in this area, then we go from there. So I don't know where I'll be, but hoping I'll still be doing good things in the community and on a professional and personal level as well.
Now, you talked about how many mentors you've had through your career.
Correct.
People must ask you to mentor them. What do you say?
I say absolutely. I would do. You know, I wouldn't be here today if I didn't have those mentors, people who took the time out to give me some advice. So I feel I'm indebted to give that back. So anytime somebody comes to me, want a word of advice, you know, want to talk about, you know, anything, I make that time for them because I think about the people who made that time to give me advice and help me where I am today. So you know, I definitely had to do that for those who come to ask me.
You inspired me, by the way, during the pandemic because you started your podcast. Talk about that.
So my podcast was called Inside the Chambers, and it was a podcast to inform the public of some of our local elected officials. And I just wanted to give a nonpartisan platform to do that. So I had about 5 interviews on there, and I think it went very, very well. It was very well received. 5 interviews of candidates that were running in the 2020 Correct.
Cycle.
Yeah, about 4 or 5 of those, and I think it was very well received. The candidates, they enjoyed it. I enjoyed it because, you know, it forced you to learn a lot about them. You know, leading up to that interview, where you learn about some of their backgrounds, their platforms, and their views. So it was just a nonpartisan way to get their information out, get their platform out, where people could, you know, stream in and listen and learn about that candidate. So, you know, the election's over now, but I'm planning on getting back into that in 2021. Probably open the topics up a little bit more outside of the politics, have various topics on there, but it's something I enjoy doing.
Yeah, so, I mean, people voted for the first time in many years in our generation this past election cycle, and we can talk about the reasons why. But in your podcast, your goal is to inform the electorate of the candidates, right?
Correct.
Why is that important to you? Because you're just, you know, I mean, you know, you can do it. You can give to candidates any other way, but why did you want to do it?
Well, unfortunately, these days you've seen there could be a lot of misinformation, you know, especially in politics. So I just wanted an even playing field where this candidate can come on there and talk to the constituents, the community, and let them know about their platform, why they want to run for that office, and more importantly, why somebody as a community member should vote for them. So I felt that was very important, and it was a lot of fun doing it, and I look forward to doing that again in upcoming years or elections.
Yeah, no, I had a great time being a guest on your podcast, and I think one of the other things people forget is we're both millennials,
Yeah.
and the millennial generation during this pandemic you can imagine has taken some blame for the spread of COVID-19. And obviously, I've defended it in the media and in other outlets, and I know that the millennial generation sometimes gets the wrong rap for what we do in our community. But you started at a young age too with emerging leaders. Talk about your journey just getting involved in emerging leaders and your role in leadership.
Yeah. So I remember there was a lady who works at Tampa Electric, Dr. Tracy McPhail, and she encouraged me to join Emerging Leaders. And I was hesitant at first. I'm like, I don't know if I have time for this. So I ended up doing it, and I think it was one of the best decisions I ever made. Just the networking, the professional development, the mentorship. I got involved with the public policy, which is now called the Catalyst Committee. And I think that's where I got a genuine love for public policy, more of that political arena. Ended up chairing that event, and we did some pretty cool things when I was there. Me and the co-chair, we hosted the first ever mayoral debate, which I think was a success, and just definitely kept the community informed. And it was more importantly to give the young professionals a voice. Let them know that they can enact change. They're just not, like you said, millennials, young partiers, how people kind of have that perception. But I think we as a group did some pretty amazing things. And we just let the elected officials know, we made our voice heard. So that's why I came up. Ended up winning the Deanne Dewey Roberts Emerging Leader Award, and a very special accomplishment for me, and you know that as well. So then I aged out, so I stepped up and took on some leadership roles within the chamber now, where I chair the Military Advisory Committee. So it's been a progression, but I love to stay involved, and I hold the Tampa Bay community near and dear to my heart. So I just keep doing things that can make our community better. You can stand back and talk about things, but once you get involved, things that brings a much rewarding satisfaction to you.
Now, for the folks that don't know, talk about the military community impact in the area we live in, and how that impacts the whole region.
Wow. So, so we have MacDill here. We have all 5 services here. Well, 6 now. I think we just added the Space Force, but MacDill. It has CENTCOM and SOCOM, 2 major commands for special operations and central operations. And it just brings thousands of military members and their family into the Tampa Bay community. And when you look at that large number of troops, which I don't know the exact number, you're looking at billions in dollars in just economic revenue stimulus to this community. So it's important that we take care of the military veterans, family members, what have you, because when they do come off active duty, you want to make Tampa Bay a place that they decide that they want to stay. So we definitely want to keep the military a priority, because they bring so much to the Tampa Bay community and its entire region.
Now you talk about, I think the number is like $20 billion economic impact, and I think it's something like 17,000 people crossed the gates of MacDill before the pandemic. But a lot of these folks that are in the military are transitioning. How important it is to help them through the transition. I mean, people have called you when their orders are up they don't want to move. They've done 18 moves in a career and they want to stay in the Tampa area. How important is it to you and the Tampa Bay Chamber Military Affairs Committee to make sure they have the resources to know where jobs are?
That's one of the top priorities for the Chamber and the Military Advisory Committee. You're taking a service member who've given so much to their company, and service members, they bring a set of values, not saying that the average civilian doesn't, but they bring a set of values where they catch on very quickly, learn how to think outside the box, professional. I don't feel you have to start them off at that foundation level, and that's good for any employer.
They think differently.
Yeah, and for any employee to land a service member, I think it's just an added value to their company. So we definitely want to keep those type of folks here in the Tampa Bay community. They're familiar with the community, they've been here, so why let them leave? And I think Tampa Bay has so much to give. So through the chamber, we have Operation Partnership, have military networking events where we look at their resume, critique them on their interview skills, because we definitely want them to be successful, whether it's here in the Tampa Bay community or wherever they go. I mean, that's a very important part of our community, and not just Tampa Bay, anywhere, to get these military members and help them have an easy transition into the civilian side, because they definitely bring a lot to the table.
And you've done so much as far as within Tampa Electric. I believe that you've got even leadership within the Tampa Electric that's giving back through the military affairs committee, right?
Yes. We have a couple people who participate on that board, and even at Tampa Electric, we have our own internal military committee, and we highlight veterans. It's important to let them know, their service and sacrifice to the country is important, and we do that internally at TECO as well. So we're very involved, military friendly employer. So we value the veterans as something that's near and dear to the leadership at Tampa Electric, and bring these type of folks on, because we want them to be our fellow team members, because we understand what they bring to the table.
Well, we're running short on time, Chris. I want to make sure you get to chat about anything you wanted to talk about. Is there anything I didn't cover that you wanted to ask?
Oh, no, you did a pretty good job. I think you know me pretty well, and you was hitting on all cylinders.
Yeah, I think the most exciting thing is you talked about the maritime community. I know you're involved in the Propeller Club. Talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, so the Propeller Club, we're an organization that's been around since 1922. We support the maritime industry through, whether it's workforce development, getting behind special or certain issues that may affect the maritime community. This year I'm the first vice president of events, which has been challenging because we've had to scale back on a lot of the events and the things we've been doing. But we've taken that opportunity to be more of service to our port community and our maritime partners, whether it's standing behind issues that affect our maritime members, such as tax issues in the port, or maybe legislation or agenda that might affect jobs in the port. So it's just a great organization to get involved with. A lot of people think you just have to be in the maritime community to be involved with the Propeller Club, but that's definitely not true. You can be from any walk of life, in any industry, but it's definitely a great organization.
You'll be the president next year?
Yes, next year I'm on track to be the president. So.
Oh, congratulations.
Thank you.
And I know that, of course, Mayor Castor, who's formerly the chief of police, you knew her and served on one of her foundation boards.
Yes,
right?
yes. So that's Rise Tampa, our police foundation, which is the foundation board for Tampa Police Department. I've been involved with that going on 4 years now. So that's just a board. We raise funds for the men and women of Tampa Police Department. Everybody has a budget, but when that budget stops, that's where we go out into the community and we solicit dollars from the business partners, and we focus on whether it's education, continued education, equipment, or community partnerships and enhancements. So that's our focus areas. We put on some pretty good events throughout the year to help raise some money. One of our big fundraisers is the clay shoot, which we just had a couple weeks back. But Rise Tampa, our police foundation, I encourage everybody to check it out. It's a good way to help the men and women who go out and keep us safe on a daily basis.
Now, a lot of people, have heard a lot of things about the different police departments around the nation
Correct.
during this pandemic, and the social justice, injustice, whatever you want to call it. What was your take as a former police officer with all that's going on in the media?
Well, so some things that you've seen in the media is definitely sad to see, and puts law enforcement in a tough spot. But you can't paint the entire law enforcement community with one brush just because a couple mistakes. A lot of people are calling for criminal justice reform, changes in the way that a lot of the law enforcement entities do business, and I think there is some credit to that. Some changes need to be made. But for overall, I think the men and women of the police department go out and do a stand-up job each day, particularly here in the Tampa Bay community. I don't think you see some of the issues that you've seen other parts of United States happen here with Tampa Police Department or Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office. And I think because this community is so diverse, the officers and deputies, they interact with different people, different walks of life every day. So I think they have a pretty good understanding of the community. And the training that I think both those men and women of these agencies get, I think is outstanding. So I think for Tampa Police Department and the Sheriff's Office, they do a pretty good job training, which is very important, training our officers, and they're exposed to a very diverse community. So I think that's why you don't see those issues here like you see throughout America and some other areas.
Well, Chris, we thank you for your service. Thank you for your leadership in the community. Thank you for what you do at Tampa Electric to keep all of us safe. We really appreciate your time today.
All right. Thank you, Aakash, for having me.
This is Aakash Patel with Elevate Inc., and you've been watching Season 1, Episode 16. Our guest has been Chris Chambers. We really appreciate your time. Have a great day.